Let's talk about the main topic here. I wrote a lot for this one.
I was going to say, I was scrolling through this a little bit, and you wrote a novel.
I actually messaged Justin from the Pickleball Pursuit podcast because I was like, hey, I hear you guys show up to a podcast and you have like 3 bullet points, maybe 15 words. And I was like, I just checked the word count on my doc and it's like over 1,000 now.
This one doc is more than their entire lifespan podcast combined. Honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised.
I told him, I was like, dude, honestly, I'm impressed you can do your pod with that few notes because I don't think I'd be able to remember anything if I didn't take these notes.
Just riffing back and forth.
Yeah, so I just thought that was really funny. But okay, so last week we talked about, I proposed the question that do people really need the power paddles in 2026? And I thought a ton about this week. If I probably didn't think more about anything besides this, because then I had a tournament this weekend and I was like, fine, you know what? I'll go prove my point. I'll go play the tournament, a 5-0 tournament with a Vatic Pro Prism. And then the next day I played with the Boomstick. So we had a lot of men's was the Vatic Pro Prism and then Boomstick was mixed. And before we get into all of this, I want to say that there's a lot of context behind this because I already know, I posted a little short too, and there was a lot of debate back and forth, which was actually really fun to see the different opinions. But I do think context matters heavily on which paddle you want to use. So let's go through some of that context, and then we can talk about my opinions. So first, the ball you use matters a ton. If you play with a Franklin, you can probably use a more powerful paddle. Power paddles are a lot easier with a softer ball. And we probably live more in a bubble of using a lifetime ball. I know it's become more adopted, but I'm willing to bet you the Franklin ball is still predominantly the most popular ball on the market.
Yeah.
And so if you're playing with a soft ball, that's going to impact things, right? I think the lifetime ball being faster than the Vulcan made some of these power paddles feel harder to use than they were before.
Sure.
Then the temp you play in matters a lot.
Honestly, that's probably one of the biggest factors.
Agreed. If you play in Florida, Arizona, California, Texas, anywhere that's really hot, yeah, you don't need a control paddle because the ball moves so slow that you can, again, probably use a more powerful paddle and very easily get away with it. Even we had a day recently that was 80 degrees and I was playing outside with the MPP Turbo and I was like, oh yeah, it's like not so bad to use when it's 80 degrees outside. But indoors, where it was, I don't know, maybe 65, that MPP Turbo was a lot harder to use. And that was with a lifetime ball. So just know, if you play a Franklin and you play in Florida, don't use a control paddle. Yeah. Maybe. Obviously, it still depends. But I wouldn't say that you need to use a control paddle when it's that hot. And the ball.
Right.
Right. Obviously, your play style matters. Are you a banger? Are you someone who likes to place the ball? And then the other thing I'm going to say for this topic is I am strictly talking about what is better for pure performance for a player over many matches, not what is more fun. If you want to have fun, please buy a power paddle. It's a blast.
Yeah.
If your only goal is to have fun and you're like, I'm not here, I'm not trying to get a lot better, I'm just going out and I'm having fun, buy your turbos, buy your Boomsticks, buy your Friction Pro V2, buy whatever you want that is powerful. But I'm strictly talking about what would make you a better pickleball player on average for most people. That's kind of how this whole topic came up.
Yep.
Let's see. Okay, couple more things. I'm also not saying that no one should use a power paddle or the power paddles are bad. I don't believe that at all. I like power paddles. I play with power paddles. So I'm not saying that. I'm just thinking, as I've been watching players, I think a lot of times people overestimate their ability to actually use a power paddle, and there are maybe more drawbacks that they don't realize.
Yeah. Well, maybe I'll save it. I'll wait.
Okay. Last thing I was just going to say is there's no right or wrong answer here. Okay. Look, everything I'm about to say, you could probably find a counter argument. Like one of the popular arguments I saw was, pros have been saying, hey, like use the most powerful paddle you can. Like you should just start with a power paddle because it'll set you up in the long run. I think that can be true, but also I think sometimes that is assuming like, oh, hey, you want to be like optimized to be as good as humanly possible. Like if you wanted to take a pro from nothing, someone from nothing to pro, yeah, maybe that's the smartest approach. But I don't think most people are going pro. And I think most people overestimate their
I
ability.
also only think that works inside a vacuum under perfect conditions where you're assuming X player has, already decent form. Because if you look at a lot of very new entry-level players, like, even if they are taking shorter swings because they have a power paddle, it does not mean it's a good swing. Right. And then you're just creating a lot of bad habits. So I don't fully agree with the use as powerful as a paddle as you can.
Yep, totally. So, like I said, all of this kind of came about because I'll bust it out here. The other day when I was writing a article for my website about what are the top control paddles, obviously I was going to put the Vatic Pro Prism in there. And I was like, you know what? I actually haven't hit this in a long time. I should just bust it out. Like, I should make sure I still feel the way I feel about this paddle. So I went and hit it, and I was like, wow, that was actually a lot of fun. Like, I played really well with that paddle. And then, so it just started making me think. I was like, wow, I was hitting my drops way better. I was hitting my resets way better. I was more consistent. And then I was like, okay, drives and overheads. How many times am I actually hitting that in a game? Like, how big of a portion of my game is that? And I was like, it's a pretty small portion. I don't hit as many overheads as I would think.
Yeah.
I should actually go count how many overheads I hit in this tournament between men's and mixed, because I bet you it's not that many.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, out of probably, I played, 13 games or something? Bet you I hit less than 20 or 30 overheads.
Yeah, it's not many. Extreme punch counters.
Yeah, So I don't think it was that many. But then I was just like, okay, so if that's the case, if I'm hitting more drops, more resets, and more dinks, wouldn't I want a paddle that makes me do that a little bit better rather than oh, well, I could have put an overhead away a little easier?
I think a lot of it comes down to now, again, even with when it comes to paddle, feel and style preference, it so much matters of the player style. Like, you and I are very different.
Mm-hmm.
I think I like power paddles now. I mean, I used to be in the all court category forever.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I used. Now I like power paddles because of how I hit my drops and how I like to shape the ball. I just don't like to swing. I don't like to move my hand a lot, especially if I'm receiving a lot of pace from an overhead or something. I just want to hold the paddle there and let it do all the work, right? So that's the reason why I don't like to use all court or control paddles anymore. I'm sure there are definitely elements of my game that would benefit from it, but I think it now comes down to more of a player style preference as well.
Totally. So let me move on to the next part here.
So, I mean, last week, you proposed a question that I had said and saved a lot of this. I said, I'd leave it there and save it for the next week. What was it exactly you said? How many players are actually losing games because
they can't hit the ball hard enough.
They can't hit the ball hard enough. And I said, no one below 5-0 to 5-5.
Mm-hmm.
And I still firmly believe that. If you can't win by not hitting the ball hard, you have a lot of other problems in your game.
So I was thinking about that last week too, or thinking about that a little bit this week. But could you not also say the same thing at the high level? Like, do you have to hit the ball hard in order to win?
But I think it's not necessarily that they are just ripping and hitting the ball hard. It's a matter of being able to, lower level players are not able to harness and control that power as well as higher level players. Like pros are going to be able to utilize that benefit that might be in a lot of ways a disadvantage for lower level players because they just can't use it properly, right? Mm-hmm. Pros are going to be able to control the ball within the lines a lot better. They're not going to be missing as wide on, say, dinks. Okay, you might actually pop up a dink. Obviously, pros do that too, but it's far less often.
Yeah.
Right? But then they're gaining the benefit of, you're going to speed up to me, and it's just a little counter that now has a ton of power and is a winner.
Yeah.
Right? That's why men's game is so slow because no one wants to speed up. Everyone's counters are so good because these power paddles are crazy. Mm-hmm. If you slowed everything down, slowed paddles back down, slowed the ball down, you'd see way crazier points. Maybe not crazier points. You'd see a lot more longer hands battles and people more willing to speed up because counters wouldn't be as deadly, right? So I just think to amateurs, power can be a detriment, in my opinion. To pros, it's a benefit.
Yeah. I mean, I would agree. I think that pros can definitely utilize like issues within control. Like you don't see pros often just miss a dink in the net or miss a dink wide or sail a drive into the back fence. Like the consistency is just a lot higher. I think their ability to rein that in and then also use it as a benefit is a lot higher. Whereas I think at the amateur level, across basically every division, in my opinion, right? Like I'm seeing same thing in some of these 5-0s I'm playing, you know, they're still hitting the back wall on some of these drives occasionally, or even a counter. Like I think it at the highest level, they can just do things that amateurs cannot do. I think there is an argument that you could say, right? Like, okay, at lower levels, maybe people can't block as well, or they can't get the ball down as well. So maybe hitting a drive at them, like they're just going to pop it up and you finish. I think you can kind of argue whichever way you want. And I think that it just depends a lot on the player's style. But like, I mean, even myself, I'll skip ahead a little bit here. Like as I was playing this tournament this weekend, played men's, which was the first thing this weekend with a control paddle. I have not, and my argument isn't even that people should play with a full control paddle. Honestly, I would actually tell people they should probably just play with an all court paddle. Most people probably don't need a pure control paddle. It's probably just a little too little.
That's when it comes down to like where's your location? Are you in a really hot environment, and are you playing with a really soft ball?
Yeah, absolutely.
But all court is suitable for pretty much anywhere, all the time.
Yeah,
any condition.
Completely agree. So when I played the Prism, I'll just show my setup here. First of all, I did, what is this? 18 grams of weight. Yeah, 18 grams. So I did 6 at the bottom corners here, and then I did 6 at the head, which I actually like never do that. But I was like, it'll give me some more plow through. Also, because the sweet spots are a little smaller on some of these control paddles, I did want to make that bigger. And this weight setup completely fixed that. Honestly, I think the sweet spot on this was probably just as good as everything I've hit recently. Yeah. Like, I did not have a single point this weekend where I went, man, if that sweet spot was a little bigger, I would have hit that. So no issue there. But what I found for myself is everything that I have said so far, drops were way more consistent. Honestly, I think even my drives were more consistent. I wasn't really hitting them long, and I was able to place them a lot better. And even bigger for me, this is a funny one. There was a handful of comments when I posted a reel about, should you use a control paddle or not. And people were like, yeah, well, good luck winning a hands battle at 4 or 5 plus with a control paddle. Okay, let me tell you. First of all, I actually think my hands battles for me were better with this because, and again, this is more of a stylistic thing. I just tend to swing more on my counters than I probably should. Like I'm not like swinging my arm as big as possible, but just a little bit more than I should. And I found that my counters were staying in more, and I was able to stay in some of the firefights longer because of that. Yeah. And I'm going to give a small shout out to this guy. He even asked if it would happen or not. One of the guys I played this weekend, the team that beat me the worst in men's, we lost 4-11. Do you want to know what paddles they were using? What both men's players were using? Both of them were playing with Luxes.
Yep.
The worst team I lost to. And guess what? Also the biggest banger team I played the entire tournament.
I swear, the craziest bangers are always using Luxes.
Dude, and his hands are not, like, this is not the guy you want to start a hands battle with. Yeah. So when people say things like, oh, well, there's no way you're winning a hands battle of 4 or 5 plus.
It's just a silly statement.
It's just not true.
Yeah. Guys, you give me a Lux, you give me, the OG Franklin Ben John signature paddle, and I'll beat this guy in a hands battle any day, all the time.
I mean, that's just not true. I mean, he loses with a power paddle to me. But yeah, no, it was crazy. I mean, we got demolished by them, and he is not struggling in hands battles. So I do think that this whole notion of like, oh, well, like you need it because all the other players have it. It's just not true. Like I played him in mixed. He's a demon in mixed too. Like it's crazy. So, but I found for myself, there were actually quite a few points, especially when I could attack a ball out of the air from the midcourt. Like let's say I hit a drive and then it popped up. I find that a lot of times with power paddles, I end up over hitting that long, or the inverse is I try and be a little bit more careful and then I end up hitting it in the net. And there was a couple points specifically this weekend where I got to swing exactly how I wanted. And the point was great. Like, you know, there might have been a ball that came back and then I finished the next one. But I was like, dude, most of the time with a power paddle, I'm losing that point when I shouldn't, you know? And again, that's more of a me thing. Not everyone's going to be that way. But I just found myself, I was like, wow, I'm playing way more consistent with this than I would have expected. And even when we got to the quarterfinals, we played the team that ended up getting the gold medal, which is, we both know both of those guys, lost 13-15 to them, both of them 5-1 dupers. Yep. And it's like, I don't think I was winning that if I had a power paddle.
Yeah.
Maybe I would have played worse. I don't know. You know,
Right.
I felt like that match was very much a grinding dinks type of match. And I don't think a power paddle was helping me in that, you know?
Yeah, there's watching that match, there was no, how everyone on the court was playing, there was no element or area where it's like, yeah, you would have benefited from having a more powerful paddle.
Yeah. Yeah. So I just think it was one of those ones where I didn't even feel like anything was really different. I think maybe my ceiling was a little lower, but my floor was higher. So it was just like, I don't know, the same thing I was saying earlier, like
closing right back to a 4-7.
Yeah, exactly. And then when I played mixed, I played with the boomstick because I wanted to get started on this long-term grit testing, just so I can finally get some results on all this. And what I felt was kind of the inverse, is that my floor was a lot lower, but my ceiling was higher. Like my ability to maybe rip a drive and then do something flashy right after that was certainly higher. But then also I missed probably way more drops in mixed than I did in men's.
Sure.
And so it was like, okay, well, what was the trade-off? Now, I did get bronze in mixed. I didn't get a medal in men's, but also I think the average duper was a lot lower in mixed. I would say the average duper on mixed day was a lot closer to probably 4.6, 4.7, whereas in men's it was closer to 5.0.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
So I don't know. You can take that for what it's worth. Maybe I'm crazy and maybe I should just be playing with a boomstick. But there were a lot of times where even in hands battles, I was like, man, like I overswung on a counter again. Like, I don't know. I just think people can play with softer paddles and it would probably be fun. But I think what it is that those flashy, everyone remembers that flashy thing. That overhead you crushed in the corner and they didn't even touch it. The dopamine surges through your brain. No one goes crazy when they hit a reset over the net and they're like, oh yeah.
The best way that I can think of to like have people relate to what, you know, this actually is like, and I mean, you probably won't because you don't really golf.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go in to get fit for clubs, no one ever wants to go in to get fit for a driver and be like, you hit this driver 15 yards shorter, but you actually hit it more consistent in the fairways and you're going to score better. But no one wants that. They want to be like, oh yeah, my ball speed went up, my carry distance went up, I'm hitting it 20 yards further, but now you're going to miss 70% more fairways and you're actually going to shoot much worse scores, right? No one cares. They just want to, it's flashy, right? I hit it so much faster and further, but now you're going to play a lot worse. It's the same thing.
Totally. Yeah. And there was actually a great comment. Let me see if I can pull this up from YouTube that someone left when I talked about this. They said, I genuinely think we remember high intensity shots more. So if we lose a hand battle, an overhead, or a pop-up put away, it eats at us. When in reality, we lose more boring points more. Third shot drops, resets, placement shots, staying in the dink battle. These just aren't as exciting, and we tell ourselves a power paddle can do all the fun stuff, and if I learn to control it, I can do the rest. And the big if there is if you can control it. And again, I'm not trying to say no one can control them, right? Like when I played with the boomstick, I actually thought it was going to be a lot harder going from probably one of the softest paddles you can currently buy to one of the most powerful. And it wasn't nearly as big of a difficulty adjusting as I would have thought. I do think there was some things.
Part of that is probably because we hit and test everything and it's kind of a skill now to be able to adjust.
Definitely. I do think that played a part in it for sure. I was just anticipating it being a little worse. But I think your point and this guy's point hits the nail on the head, right? Like when you play a tournament and you miss drops, you don't really remember those. But that overhead that you like sent to the back wall or you didn't put away and the team came back and let's say you had 4 overheads, they got to the kitchen and then beat you. You're sitting there going, dude, if I had a power paddle, this wouldn't be a problem.
Right. Like imagine if paddle fittings were a thing, right? Someone, Joe Schmo off the street, little Johnny, comes in. It's like, okay, Here's a power paddle. You're going to rip this thing. You might only get 20% of your drives in, but when it goes in, people are going to be like, whoa, they're going to be missing drives. You might even bag somebody from the baseline. Okay? People are going to be shocked at the power. Then you give them a prism. Be like, hey, no one is going to be talking about your drives, but 80% of them are going to go in the court. You're going to hit more fifth shots into the kitchen because of your drive. You're going to have a higher percentage getting to the kitchen. You're going to keep the ball in play more. You're not going to pop it up as much, but no one is going to be impressed with how hard you hit it. Ain't nobody's picking that. Nobody, Lil Johnny does not want that. Okay. He wants to impress people with how hard he hits his drives and overheads.
Yep.
Just how it is.
Now, I think people should really, whether you use PB Vision or you do this manually, and honestly, I want to do this for myself. I'm going to try and take my games from this weekend and maybe even next week. I have another tournament, and I don't know if I'll use it again. I really got to get through this boomstick. But we'll see. We'll see what I end up choosing to use. But I would love to see, did my consistency actually go up, right? Like, how many drives did I miss using the prism, and how many drives did I miss with the boomstick? Because I can tell you right now, just from memory, I definitely missed quite a few drives using the boomstick. I think one of the other things too that is very tempting with a power paddle, at least for me, is when I feel like I have the power, I'm like, oh, I should use it. Mm-hmm. So when I get a drive in the midcourt, actually, this happened a lot. One of the teams I was playing, I kept hitting a lob serve when they were unwinding because they were having a harder time getting to the kitchen when I would do that. And as they're running in and they're a little bit behind, I'm like, and the ball's in the literal middle of the court, I'm like, I need to obliterate this ball. Like, they need to feel this boomstick coming at them. And then I hit the tape, or maybe I hit it long, or whatever it is. Whereas realistically, if I'd probably just hit like a 60% like drop drive and they pop that next one up, then I'm at the net and I, put that away. That's probably way better for me. But because I could hit the ball hard, I bet you if I had the prism, I wouldn't even have thought that.
Right.
I probably just would have dropped it.
Realistically, most of the time in games, the first one you get to hit hard should not be the winner, not the one you should be swinging 100% at, right? It's always the first high one you get should always be a setup ball.
Yeah.
To then get an easy one, they're off balance, blah, 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 blah. So, yeah, even though, yes, I do play with power paddles, I personally feel like I'd be just fine with that one.
Well, that was actually going to be my next question to you, is like, what do you think would realistically be different, better, or worse about your game if you had to use, I don't know, name whatever. Let's say you had to use like a Coral or something.
Coral, Franklin,
whatever. Like, what would actually, do you think would be better or worse about your game?
Better, probably dinking.
Okay.
More consistent, just easier, more margin for error, right? Flicks, definitely. That's something I actually...
Better or worse?
Better. Flicks I struggle with because I can generate so much head speed with my flicks that I'll accidentally add too much and hit flicks long. So that is actually something I've been struggling with. So flicks would be better. But then worse, obviously, I wouldn't have as much power on drives. Percentage would probably go up, though. So then, I mean, honestly, you could get, it's hard to say, but you could honestly give that in favor of control or all court paddles. Then for me, definitely worse would be drops. It sounds counterintuitive, but how I like to hit my drops, anytime I've gone to a softer paddle, my drop percentage has plummeted. It just doesn't work with my technique, how I like to hit drops now.
Yeah. I did say that quite a few times in my comments. There are people who are like, I actually have better control with the power paddle because exactly what you're saying is they want to hit less. So again, that's a very stylistic thing that I think you need to know about yourself. If you know you are definitively a person that's like just going to bunt the ball or you don't want to move on a reset, then yeah, a power paddle may actually be better for you, or a control paddle would be more difficult for you. Whereas, I'm the opposite. I just know I swing a little more and I do better with that than having to like, if I have to hold it still, I'm like, God, I want to move this thing.
Yeah. Right. Also, something that a lot of people I think don't think about maybe, or get too caught up in with power paddles is counters. Everyone wants to swing as hard as possible on counters and just absolutely blow the ball away, right? When in reality, you're going to miss so many more. You take a bigger swing, you're going to miss them in the net, you're going to miss them long, wherever, right? If even power paddle, control paddle, if you swung 50%, at a counter. It does not need to be that fast. Just because it's cool to actually just rip a counter, not good for you. So I think, again, another element where control and all-court paddles for most people would be better.
Yeah. I do think that they're with the power paddles. Like, I played some teams this weekend that obviously had power paddles, boomstick, and whatever else. And there are definitely teams where at the net, if they have like a great flick with a power paddle, if you can hit that well, like it's only enhanced.
I mean,
right?
The team you lost to and that got gold, in my opinion, were both using all-court paddles.
Yeah, Franklin, ALW
16.
The Aurelius. Oh, was it 16? I thought it was a 12.
Maybe it was a 12. I thought it was a 16.
I'll have to ask him. I'll have to ask him. I can't remember.
Yeah, I scratch that. It was Aurelius Franklin paddle. Might have been 12, might have been 16. The other one was a coral.
Yep.
So, but again, I don't think it didn't look like he had a lot of weight on it.
It was
Aurelius,
wrapped, though. I think it had
sure.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't see that. But again, it's still not a crazy power paddle, even with weight on it.
And he doesn't even need it. That guy is so tall. I mean, if the ball is shoulder height, I promise you, it wasn't coming back.
That man
he just destroys the ball.
Hits the ball so hard.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's actually insane. But, he's also like 6'5" or 6'6". So, of course, he's going to destroy the ball. He's a tall guy.
He's got some length.
So, yeah, it's just... And both of them, I think, have great counters. That's why we were dinking so much, because I didn't want to deal with their counters.
Yep.
But I do think that with a power paddle, you can obviously enhance it a lot, right? If you have the ability to control it, it is only a benefit to you to take time away from your opponent.
For sure.
My, I guess, like, argument or proposed idea is just that I wonder if people are winning more points because of that or losing more points because of it. That's what I think people should watch some of their videos and figure out. Like, where are your common errors? And do you think the paddle made that error more likely to happen or less likely to happen?
Yeah.
That is what I think the real question is.
I'm looking at the wall and I'm thinking, if I had to use an all-court or control paddle, I don't even know what I would use right now.
Well, I mean, don't you think the Faculos is more all-court?
Yeah, for all court, yeah. But if I was going with a true control paddle, the only one I can think of that I'd want to use is maybe the Franklin. But I don't shape the ball super well with it, so I don't even know.
The one thing that I do think,
for sure, though,
I kind of hope this changes, but I doubt it will, just because of how little control paddles sell these days. And again, I want to say this: I am not proposing that everyone has to use a control paddle. All court is what I'm really saying you should use. But the bummer is that, like, these control paddles aren't going to have the longer lasting grits, right? No. Like, if Vatic comes out with one, are they going to put it on a Prism? I doubt it. It'd maybe be kind of nice if they did. But I think you're missing out on elements of those things, like these longer lasting grits that allow you to generate more spin. So you might be a little bit more handicapped that way. All court paddles tend to not have that issue. Obviously, there's the Coral, which is more all court, has a longer lasting grit on it. And, J2FC Plus doesn't have a longer lasting grit, but a very solid all court paddle these days. So I don't know. I think there's that area that could hold some of these paddles back, where I do think it would be more in 2026 is maybe more of a definitive disadvantage. But to me, like what I was thinking when I was playing with the Prism is I just had to play smarter, right? Like sometimes if you have a boomstick or whatever power paddle you want to name, I feel like what goes, at least through my mind, is I could hit the speed up through this guy. I bet if I just hit this ball hard enough, it'd go right through him. And then they get out of the way, and I hit it out, and I'm like, well, that was stupid. Why didn't you just aim for the inside the court?
It's the little devil on your shoulder,
yeah,
whispering in your ear, like, you can do it. Yes, hit that speed up.
You're like, at 9-10-2, you should totally hit this drive into his chest at the kitchen line. It's
as
totally
hard as you possibly can. Rip it from mid-court.
Yeah. Whereas with the Prism, like, maybe that is less of an option. So you're like, oh, okay, what is the higher percentage shot that would actually be smart here? Like, I feel like when I was playing this weekend, and if I was going to hit a speed up, I'm like, okay, I should probably like hit it at this hip. And then, I'll put it away or whatever, which obviously you can do that with the power paddles too. That's how you should think. But for me, it's like intoxicating, where I'm like, I've got it. So what is something really crazy I could do with this right here?
Yeah.
I'd also be curious to know what my drive and drop percentage was this weekend in mixed versus men's with the different paddles.
You recorded them, right?
Yeah, I recorded. I can go find all of this.
Yeah.
And maybe
send
next
it
week
through PB Vision and see what it says.
Yeah, and figure all of this out. But yeah, I don't know. I guess we can go on through a couple other areas of this, and then we can kind of wrap this segment up. But obviously, again, like I said at the beginning, I think the ball changed a lot of things. I think when the Vulcan was the ball, and then, we started having a lot of the juiced power paddles come out, it was like, ooh, this is really nice. And then once it came to the Lifetime ball, it was like, wow, suddenly these all got a little more, it feels like people dialed back a little bit. They're like, let's, we're using a Lifetime ball, let's go back and power a little bit. Yeah. And so I think just depending on where you play and what ball you use makes a huge difference. If you play Colorado, thin air, cold, yeah, you might want more of a control-oriented paddle. And then in Florida, where it's muggy, it's hot, the sun is murdering you, I'm not probably telling almost anyone to go buy a Prism.
Yeah.
Right? It's just like you're probably only making your life harder out there. So ball, makes a huge difference. And then what else? I feel like I had something else on the tournament that I maybe wanted to talk about. Also the guy, the team that won mixed. It was the guy that used the Lux.
Oh, really?
So he got gold, and
nice.
He used the Lux. So boom, control paddle. And then, with all this being said, like, am I just going to switch to a Prism? No, I probably would realistically choose like more of an all-court paddle if I really had to pick. And, maybe I'll keep using things like the Spartus P1 because the grit, the spin is really addicting, right? And I think I can probably get to the point where I can use one of those fine, but I don't know. It definitely had me just thinking I need to think smarter about how I play. And I don't know if choosing the hyper power paddle.
Also, I'm curious just how many people out there are actually like consistently playing tournaments and how many people are just playing for fun. Obviously, there's going to be more people out there just playing recreationally and just playing for fun.
Totally.
But I don't know. What's the split?
Yeah, definitely. I guess last thing I wanted to say is just, who could benefit from more power? I think there's like a group, different groups of people, right? Like seniors. I know a lot of times seniors are like, look, we can't keep up with some of these people. We're going to use a power paddle. That's fine. If you feel like it helps you. Actually,
but, anytime people say that, in what area do you mean keep up? Is it just they actually hit it harder than me and I can't hit it that hard?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But does that actually mean you're losing?
Sure.
Right? So, like, what do people mean when they say, I can't keep up?
Mm-hmm.
And in what way does keeping up benefit you in a way where you're going to win more?
Sure.
Right? I don't know. Like, I hear that thrown around a lot. And I just don't think that, again, I think everything we just said applies to seniors as well. Seniors are going to pop up power paddles more.
Right. But I wonder, I'd be curious to know, like, I'd have to really think through this. I think it's one of those things where, obviously, as you get older, your ability to generate power is just lower, right?
For sure.
Like, you generate all the power in the world that you need. Whereas someone 60 years old, it's probably going to be a lot harder for them to do that. So, depending on like who they're playing, maybe some extra juice would help. Actually, I was at Lifetime the other day, and there's this court of women playing, probably in their 60s or so. And I just, I'm always looking at everyone's paddles just out of curiosity. Like, oh, what are people using? And I looked over at one and I was like, this lady's using the Diadem
Hush.
No, not the Hush. The one before the Vice. The Vice. And I was like, oh, I got to see how this pans out. And so like I watch a couple points, and the very next point, she drives a ball. It pops up and she just rips it into the stomach of this other lady. And everyone else is playing with like, I don't know, a Friday, the original one, and then like a few other just pretty basic paddles. And I was like, man, this is not a fair fight for this lady. She's just,
but see, like even there, right there,
yeah.
Whether she had a Prism or the Vice, in that instance, if it plays out exactly how I'm imagining it, it would not have mattered.
Sure.
Right? High ball, easy forehand, gonna rip it.
Yeah.
Would have been the same result.
Maybe you wouldn't have got the pop-up without it, And I think that's kind of my point on all this, is you may get more of those things. You may get more of those pop-ups, but is it higher than the other mistakes you might make with that paddle, right? That'd be my question. I didn't obviously watch the rest of their games. Maybe she got beat pretty bad when they started dinking or something. But, I could see seniors. If you're a smaller woman, maybe it's harder to generate power. Maybe you want a power paddle, right? I hear that from a lot of different people. If you're someone who has a very aggressive style and you just want to crush counters and hit drives, yeah, maybe a power paddle's fine for you as well. If that's your style, I wouldn't try to tell you to take away your superpower.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's not my superpower, so maybe it doesn't matter for me. And then the last one is just players who want the paddles to do all the work for them on resets, like you.
Yeah.
I think those are some groups of people that use a power paddle. At the end of the day, I think my point is not to tell any of you what you should or shouldn't use. My point is just think about it. If you own an old control paddle, maybe go out, play a handful of games with it, see what you think. Maybe you play better, maybe you play worse. I don't know. It's all very player dependent. But for me, it was a pretty interesting experiment. Honestly, this next weekend, if it wasn't for the fact that I have all these grit tests to catch up on, I'd probably try that Prism again. But with the limited court time I have, and how many paddles to do these grit tests on, I'm like, dude, I need to wrap
There's
this
a lot
up.
to get through.
And I'm like, man, I don't know. This weekend I might get 15 games total. Then I'd be 30% of the way through the boomstick. I'm like,
yeah.
But boomstick probably wouldn't be my first choice this weekend.
Sure.
But, not because it's bad, but I don't know. The Prism would be fun to keep experimenting with.